Evening folks, how are we getting on? Me, Marty Macaulay, again with another Irish whiskey review. Yeah, hope you're all okay. Hope everything is going satisfactorily with you. I think we're finally heading out of COVID times. The Omicron and all the other variants are seemingly on the downward slide. So hopefully the world will resume back to normal again at some point very, very shortly. Fingers crossed. Now, tonight, I am doing a bit of an Irish whiskey review in America, but it's from an Irish whiskey. All will be revealed. We have done a podcast about Henry McKenna, a book about Henry McKenna. We did a book review, as we do on our podcast, Irish Whiskey Review, with me and Justin. And the story of McKenna is really quite interesting, yeah. It says on the bottle, established 1855. Yes, Henry McKenna. I'll just read the back of the bottle. Bear with me. I need the old glasses these days. My eyesight's getting much worse, much quicker. Anyway, Henry McKenna, arriving from Ireland in 1837, he left Draperstown, which means he's from up my part of the world. Yo! So Henry McKenna knew he had brought something special to the US years later. He used his family's recipe passed down for generations to produce this great sipping whiskey. At the distillery he founded in 1855 near Fairfield, Kentucky. Due to McKenna's strict requirements of proper aging before bottling, it didn't take long for his whiskey to become popular. Today, Henry McKenna still satisfies those looking for a real whiskey with real history. Yes and no. Yes, in the fact that Henry McKenna did arrive over and did establish a distillery. This will taste nothing like what he created. What he created was a still, originally, basically made out of wood, a wooden 3-chamber still. Now, we also did a show with the Leopold brothers, who have recreated a 3-chamber still, which was really quite commonplace back in the day, long since disappeared, and then re-established by the Leopold brothers. The still that McKenna made was basically a log, hollowed out and then repurposed into a still. I'd love to see one of them up and running again, just to see how they would work. I'm sure it'd be quite interesting to find out how one of them would work, but health and safety these days probably wouldn't allow you to do it. The original distillery is long gone. Fairfield Distillery is gone. So this made by Heaven Hill. The mash bill for it is 75% corn, 13% rye, and 12% barley, which is probably the original mash bill, let's be honest. Now, if you haven't seen the book or read the book about Henry McKenna, the emphasis on the whole thing always is about quality the whole way through. This is $20 a bottle, thereabouts, maybe a bit less in the shops over here. This is not what the original would be, or the best expression of Henry McKenna. Henry McKenna, 10-year-old, has regularly won huge plaudits, huge amounts of prizes. This just sits on the shelf, along with the sort of bargain, the entry level. I don't like saying the word bargain because it doesn't necessarily convey quality or whatever. Now, it's a sour mash. Don't know what sour mash is. They take a little bit from the mash the day before and put it into the new one, and that sort of starts the fermentation and helps balance it and stuff. This is a 4-year-old, apparently. Although there's no age statement on it, but if you go and Google, you can Google this stuff and find this information. Now, it had a wonderful reputation. You can still, if you search auction sites, you can still buy the old ceramic jugs made from the old distillery. and they're not that expensive. I have two of them in the house, I think, and they cost me. I think they cost me like £150 or something to buy each. So they're not massively expensive. Probably going to go that way, same as everything else in whiskey prices these days. And I think lost distilleries are going to be really collectible, much, much more collectible. Because same as everything else, if you can't make any more of them, you can only ever have less. And as the numbers of them start to decline, and the reputation of something maybe starts going back up, or the brand recognition of it starts going back up, then the price of the original distillery will elevate. And that's, I think it's pretty much a no-brainer. So this is fairly accessible over here, easy to buy, like $20. So what's it actually like? It's quite citrusy, lots of wood. The corn, that corn sweetness that comes through. But if I had to say anything, it would be citrusy with a cooked element to it. So probably grilled lemon, that kind of note on the nose. Grilled lemon, maybe a little bit candy lemon, So the citrus is there, but it's got a couple of different elements to it, a couple of different ways of expressing itself. A little bit of sort of barley sugar there too. That kind of sweet, boiled sweet note to it. So yeah, I wouldn't say there's a huge amount of spice there, but it's quite light, Quite sharp. The rye element to it is quite spicy. There's a pepperiness to it, but again, the barley is there. That barley sugar. The corn in the palate doesn't bunch through. It does a little bit more in the nose, but in the palate, it's kind of moved over to the side, and the other two elements come into play. But it's a bit sharp, a bit. On the finish, caramelly, quite woody. You're getting that charcoal sweetness coming through on it too. It's okay. Don't be in any great panic to go and buy it. I'm afraid the reputation of Henry McKenna's, this ain't helping it. The other stuff is much, much better, and it's a bit of a shame that they have taken a name that has always prided itself on quality and really just, they've done on this what some distilleries are doing, or some brands are doing, where they buy a brand or they register a brand and they use that as a sort of thing to give them more quality, or it's a little bit of sort of what we used to call plastic paddy stuff back home, where people used to open Irish bars and they would open them in, I don't know, Buenos Aires or Canberra in Australia. Basically, they do is they paint the stuff green, and they put up a shamrock on St Paddy's Day, and then serve tagliatelle and this kind of stuff, and their Guinness is always awful. It's kind of that. They have a lot of stuff here, established in 1855. Yes, the brand was, but this is nothing. This is nothing in relation to what it would have been. The references to Ireland and the bourbon and the sour mash and all this kind of stuff, and it's all there and it's all correct-ish, but this is not doing the brand any favours. It's quite harsh, quite sharp, but it's an entry level, so what do you expect? It's really quite harsh and not nice at all. It's this kind of thing that has said to me many a time before that we don't like bourbon, and unfortunately, the lower end of bourbon tends to be not great at all. When, and certainly being over here, has opened my eyes to a much better understanding, a much better appreciation of quality bourbon. I'm sure it's exactly the same as everything else. Quality and craft and care and passion and not cutting corners is good for all products. But bourbon, for me, it seems to be that's probably more true than anything else. This is kind of cheap. It's kind of nasty. There doesn't seem any love or care in this. They've cared more about making sure that all of this is stamped on the labels rather than the liquid inside. I mean, a plastic screw top. It's not great. Okay, it just isn't. Now, if you read the book, or certainly listen to our podcast about it, and me and Justin talk quite a bit about Henry McKenna. He wouldn't have put his name to this, if I'm honest. He just wouldn't have. I don't think any of the family who are living, I don't know whether they're still about, and probably none of them involved in the whiskey business. If they were tasting that, they wouldn't be happy with it, I don't think. But it's cheap, and there you go. Do I have to give it a score? I'll give it a very 5 out of 10. It's cheap. We'll give it a 5.5 out of 10, and that's about the only thing going for it. There's other bourbons out there that are maybe slightly more expensive. Don't be buying this. Throw a few extra quid into something that's a bit more care and passion about it. Doesn't have to be much more, but yeah, there are other whiskies that you could spend your hard-earned cash on. So, unfortunately, Mr. McKenna, your legacy in this is not great. Anyway, I shall bid you all farewell. Stay safe, happy and healthy, and do join me and Justin on Saturday nights on Irish Whiskey Review. So for me, Mark McCauley, do take care and stay safe. Slàinte.